Hello, welcome to the sixth episode of the Financial Freeman podcast.
Yeah!
My name is Gary Freeman. I'm a former corporate lawyer and now investor and financial educator.
And my name's Ronnie Freeman. I'm a property developer and an artist. We are here to financially educate you. So let's begin with our news story of the week.
And this week is all a story about Bitcoin. And there's a country called El Salvador who have stated that they are going to accept Bitcoin as part of as one of their currencies. So at the moment they're using the US dollar, but they've now come on record and said they're going to use Bitcoin, which is the first country to do that.
Big move.
Yeah, huge move, and it's the Bitcoin price went up as a result, and yeah, it's potentially a big move because one of the things that Bitcoin reason why it's so popular is this is it's just discussed that it might well be taken up by more and more people across the world, and obviously if countries start using it, then that's a pretty possibly phenomenal moment in Bitcoin's history.
Is everyone going to flock on holiday there now
To where? It's a good question. Well, actually, so far they haven't worked out really. First of all, it's not been passed properly yet by governments. They've announced it in the government, but it's not been passed yet. Second of all, will they all go on holiday? Well, I don't think they've worked out yet how they're going to how they're going to incorporate it, because there's lots of issues. So, for example, if you're going to buy a car that's worth $30,000 and then suddenly the Bitcoin price jumps up 20%, which you can do on any day, like how much is that car then worth the next day? Will everyone rush out to buy it? There's so many kind of question marks when you've got a currency that's potentially kind of changing, because obviously the pound doesn't change like that on a day-to-day basis. Although obviously the value of the pound is going down, as we've discussed previously, for the reasons of inflation, but nowhere near the kind of volatility that Bitcoin shows. So watch this space, as they say. Which, and the whole news article does lead us on to our main topic of the week, which is Dogecoin.
Oh, Dogecoin! Never heard of it.
No, is it going to the moon or is it a complete hustle? You've never heard of it. Okay, so what it is, I'd describe it as the third most popular cryptocurrency. So
versus Bitcoin.
The second is something called I can never pronounce it. I probably should have practiced before the podcast. Ethereum, which is describe it as Bitcoin number two. It has different characteristics to Bitcoin, but I think it's similar enough to call it Bitcoin number two. Just like with lots of different industries, you've got two companies spearheading in terms of the industry. Those two are kind of number one and number two. Then you've got about 1,000 other alternative coins.
And they all just copying Bitcoin.
Yeah, so effectively they've all copied, as far as I'm aware, and I'm not the expert, but as far as I'm aware, that they are all kind of they've used a similar code, so they all work in a similar way. Now, I'm going to briefly explain what a cryptocurrency is, because I think people may not be familiar with that. And I think if we're going to start discussing asset classes and cryptocurrency as an asset class, it's important to at least have the bare fundamentals of what you may or may not be investing in. I think a lot of people in the last year or so have ploughed money into Bitcoin, Dogecoin, etc., probably without really knowing what it is. It's just that it's been going up, and therefore something's going up. You want to join the trend. It's the end thing, and I think they do have lots of uses, but I think fundamentally I just want to cover what it is, and then we'll go on to where we think Dogecoin may or not be a good financial investment. And really what it is that there's two aspects to it. The first is what they call decentralized. Do you want to take a guess what that means? Does that mean
it's not centered?
Yeah, not centered in the fact that it's not good the government or an institution that's similar to the government controlling the currency. So the UK government controls the UK pound. They can decide how much to print. They can decide, okay, the Bank of England can decide what interest rates are set against it. So it essentially controls the amount of currency in circulation and to some extent the value of that currency.
Yeah.
This is away from all of that. So there's
Someone must be in charge somewhere.
no, right, exactly.
No
No
one's
one's in charge. Exactly that. No one's in charge. So that's worth something because
Wait, well, how many bitcoins are there?
right at the moment this is the third aspect to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but not to Dogecoin as we'll come on to. So we'll come on to how many there are with Bitcoin. Right. So the first aspect is that it's decentralized. No one is in control.
Is
Okay.
the computer in control?
Yes, and that's the second aspect to it, which is the cryptology of it all, which is that
Cryptocurrency.
right. Is that it's monitored basically behind call it a computer algorithm. It's a lot more complicated than that, but that monitors each and every transaction. So the system knows if you're sending money to someone in Venezuela. I'm using Venezuela as an example because that's a country that uses Bitcoin a lot because it doesn't trust its government because the currency keeps rising and rising. Is that you will be able to
snippet there.
Yeah, the code knows who's done what and which transaction, and it can and actually the people that are verifying it are what they call miners of the cryptocurrency, and they're people that I don't really know what they
real
do.
People?
They're real people that basically crack. They use their computers to essentially verify these transactions through mining, and as a result or reward of
mining?
This process of essentially verifying transactions,
Right.
and they are the reason why they're doing this, they're going to get rewarded with a Bitcoin or with a bit of cryptocurrency because
the transaction.
Yeah, you
so
need the people are using their computers. So me and you could start mining cryptocurrency.
Could we actually?
Yeah, we could actually. We can go and buy computers. In fact, you're going to want to do this now. We could go out and buy more computers, or essentially better processing power. It's not necessarily the computer itself, but better processing power, and we could start mining it.
How does it pay?
It pays in reward. It rewards you if you crack the code. Basically, you get rewarded by a certain amount of cryptocurrency, like a 0.1 of a Bitcoin, which actually is a lot because on today's rate of whatever $40,000, that's a nice reward. You need to spend like a few grand maybe on the computing power to begin with, but you'll get it back in cryptocurrencies.
Why do they want?
They want you to do that because they need someone to verify the system, because otherwise there's no trust.
Like how paid on commission.
Effectively, because otherwise you can have a decentralized system, but someone needs to monitor it. Someone needs to check that it's all legitimate and no one's like double counting the amount of currency they've got, for example, because otherwise it won't work. So someone needs to know that I've got
these people.
Yeah.
Have got a responsible job.
It's not responsible.
And they've not really had an interview.
Yeah, but it's not really an interview. They're our job. They're just doing this in their own. Well, there's some people. There's companies now doing this. So actually, yes, in a way, there's companies now with mining companies.
Can they do corrupt things?
No. No one can do corrupt things. You can't.
Uncorruptible.
You can't. Yeah, literally, people have like checked this. Thousands of people check this code, and it works. So you can't corrupt it.
Right.
So anyway. That's aspect two, that it's verified and so it works and people get a reward as a result. Okay, so it's decentralized. It's got the crypto technology, and this does apply to Dogecoin. Those things, as far as I'm aware, you could tick off those two, and I think all the cryptocurrencies in circulation now. Where Bitcoin why it's so popular, essentially, it's because it's the first, and the first of almost anything is so popular. But the second reason is that it's a limited supply. So the person who set this whole Bitcoin up, and actually no one really knows who that is, strangely enough.
Not like Banksy.
Yeah, I think it's a guy called I think it's like Mr. Nakamoto from Japan, but I think he's just an alias, and no one actually knows.
Is he rich, whoever it is?
Well, I think he has got some Bitcoin. No one knows exactly how much, but apparently he's still got some. But they call him Mr. Nakamoto, right?
Sure.
He can't abuse the system. That's actually the point in number two. That's how the code. But he's set in motion. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins.
But if the miners earn
No, they can't. They can't get. There's no more than that. So at the moment in circulation, I think there's just under 19 million bitcoins. So then, and it's becoming harder and harder. So
if the miners earn Bitcoin by mining,
yeah,
so if you get to 21 million,
yeah,
then what are they going to get?
they got nothing. People stop mining it. Yeah, then what happens to the who's checking the code? I think at that point, I don't know. I should, yeah.
Oh,
Well, yeah. I don't think it really matters for the point
assumption.
of this, but all you need to know at that point. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. We'll look at that, but I don't think it matters for the purposes certainly of this podcast. But you get
It
to,
matters
it's
now.
interesting. You get to 21 million. The point being is it's a finite supply. That's the third characteristic of this cryptocurrency. There's only ever a set amount. Now, finite supply is good in economics because if you've got a short amount of something,
Yeah,
then
here's the value.
yeah, basically. Whereas Dogecoin, and this is the key difference, is that there are currently, I think, 128 billion Dogecoins,
Oh,
and these miners get rewarded for doing much easier tasks, and they get rewarded with basically thousands of Dogecoins every day, I think. But it's a lot easier to mine, and they all know this, and this is not like it's not a secret. This is kind of it's widely accepted that there's just going to be more and more and more and more Dogecoins. So the obvious question you're going to ask is then how can it have any value?
how can it have any value?
Exactly.
I actually think though.
Go on.
Now I'm stumped by Bitcoin, how the
Yeah.
miners are going to get paid in 2 million time.
Yeah.
Then actually, I think Dogecoin's onto something.
Yeah.
But no, how's it going to have value?
Yeah, it's basically going to it can't is the simple answer. So it's very unlikely to ever become used widely in the economy. So there are currently, I think there's a baseball team that currently accept Dogecoin.
As you do.
I suspect it's more for PR than anything else. But so it's possible that it will ever be used, but I think it's very unlikely. And actually, I think the users of Dogecoin or the investors, if you like, probably know that. They know it's a joke. In fact, it was set up as a joke. They said, right, we're going to just take Bitcoin and stick a dog in front on the picture of the coin, and it'll be a huge laugh. And we know it's going to go nowhere, but whatever, we'll have a bit of fun. Anyway, those people who did set it up have since sold out. They sold out in 2016. They brought a used Honda Civic with their the proceeds from. They made a bit of money even at that the time they had it. But they've said they've come on record in the last year or so, and they've said, "What are people doing investing in this? This is not."
So how much is it worth now?
It's now worth as a whatever you want to call it, as a crypto. It's worth roughly about 60 billion. I think that's gone down since I checked because it's dropped a bit in the last week or so. Now 60 billion, just to put it into some kind of context, is worth more than company Kraft Heinz. You'll know Kraft own Cadbury's and lots of other food brands in the States especially. Heinz, obviously, tomato ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
To take all those bottles of tomato ketchup are all worth less than this joke, and it is a joke. So you've got something that's essentially worth.
No one's laughing now.
Well,
though.
no one's like, no. So you've got something that's basically worth. I think. Well, not I think. I'm not giving advice. Something that could be argued is worth nothing. It's actually worth 60 billion, and that's the kind
Who'd
of
they sell it to?
that's they're just trading. That's basically that's it really, because you can't really use it at the moment apart from
No one
the
owns
sports
it.
teams. So no one, so everyone is just buying it on the pretext that it's going up, I think. Whereas with Bitcoin, there is an argument to say, as we've seen with El Salvador, that it might be used on a wider basis. I don't think the Dogecoin supporters can argue the same thing. So you've got to the next question, obvious question you're going to
Go
ask
on.
is why are they doing this? If they know it's kind of got no
I was actually
value,
thinking why people investing,
and
but people do crazy things.
and that's basically it. People do crazy things is actually the answer. But it's not just they're doing crazy things; they're doing crazy things in a group.
Yeah, and then it's less crazy.
And it's less great, and it's a lot less crazy when it's actually then going up. In fact, it actually then becomes sensible.
Can we get some?
Well, no, but No, I must admit I don't actually own any cryptocurrency, so that's just for the record. And obviously, we're not giving financial advice, as you well know.
That's at the beginning. I said we're financially advising people.
Okay, we're giving okay. Well, let's maybe change the beginning, but we are giving we're just opening your eyes to finance, but we're certainly not giving any advice, education as opposed to advice. But the key is that what we're saying, Dogecoin, yeah. Why are they involved? And it is because as a group, and it's what they call a mem, which is basically a self-replicating idea. And there's a lot of history behind all this, but essentially it's just a group culture that the more and more something is happening and something as a belief system, then the more and more they think it's becoming widely accepted, and you almost want to become part of the gang. So, for example, this Dogecoin to the moon is their phrase, which essentially just means Dogecoin is going to become very, very popular and go up in value. Is been not tweeted, been shared on TikTok 400 million times that basically Dogecoin can get you rich and Dogecoin is going to the moon. So you've got so many people basically saying this that people are thinking, well, if they're all believing it, I'm also going to join, and it's going up in value, and it's gone up like 15,000%.
Since the beginning.
Yeah, but I think roughly in like the last year or so, like this is where it's really shot off. So it's not, we're not talking about. So just even if you hadn't had that much savings and you put your savings in there, you'd be well retired by now. And so if that's the case, then even if it's absolutely bonkers, then you could see arguably a case to invest. That's what's one side of the coin, pun intended. But the other side, I think we need to discuss this in case you're all running off and suddenly investing in Dogecoin, is that the fun might stop at some point. So even in the last week, Dogecoin I think has lost about a third of its value, which for these coins isn't that much. But if let's just say it suddenly drops 50%, 60%, 70%, which Bitcoin has in the past but has recovered. But it might get to a point where all these people that joined as a bit of a joke, a bit of a laugh, suddenly are seeing themselves, their money's gone, or probably more so their profits have gone, because a lot of people is probably still in profit, and they might start becoming uncomfortable, and it becomes, I guess, less of a joke.
And then they can sell.
Yeah, then they'll sell, but for a lot less value. And certainly, if you're buying in now, there is a risk, and there's a risk with obviously every investment that it can go down. But you may argue that for something that doesn't really have an intrinsic value, such as Dogecoin, then that risk is only amplified, is only much greater, because you've got nothing to fall back on. It's like Heinz might go down in value, but they've got the bottles of tomato ketchup that they're selling,
and they've got the vineyards,
and they've got all these assets that it's only going to go down to a certain. Okay, it might go down below the value it's worth, and possibly quite a bit more because people might see a news story and panic, but it's worth something. Whereas there's a clear argument to say Dogecoin is only worth the value that those people, the power of the people. If that makes sense.
Power to the people.
Exactly. So that's it, and it's all based on Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla.
Oh yeah.
He's basically all over Dogecoin. I don't know whether he has any. I know he bought lots of Bitcoin, and then the price went crazy, and then sold it all, and the price went down. I don't know whether he's got any Dogecoin or not. But he's basically got the power. All it takes is him to put out one tweet about Dogecoin, and suddenly the price went up 20-30%. So you're kind of putting on your investments into one hat, if you like.
Nice hat.
Yes, yeah, but he could also tomorrow tweet Dogecoin is a hustle, which I think he has tweeted before. But he could come out. He said it on his Saturday Night Live show. But he could turn, bless you. He could tweet the fact that it's absolutely meaningless and valueless, and suddenly you've kind of all your investment has suddenly crashed. Bless you again. So I think with that, any other questions on Dogecoin?
I just want to sneeze.
No, fine. So we'll just say that it is an investment class. Cryptocurrency overall is definitely an investment class worth considering and reading up on. It very interesting. But certainly with Dogecoin, I think there's an air of caution to be had.
Please use wisely.
Yes. Good. So how do they follow us for future?
Oh, we're everywhere. You just type Financial Freedmen into anything, and you'll find us somehow.
So good luck. We will see you next
Give
week.
us a like, give us a subscribe, give us what you got.